What's good, YouTube? We're talking college sports here in the Deep South where college football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, where it's always great to be an Auburn Tiger. We talk about Auburn football nonstop. We even talk about some of the other sports as it relates to Auburn during the offseason. Definitely have a lot of extensive coverage on the men's basketball team that made that incredible run. College World Series, baseball-wise, and even the women's basketball team making it to the tournament. Very successful offseason for the Tigers. Also doing very well on the recruiting trail. Even got some guys that are not signed, but have made a verbal commitment even at 2022. So Auburn is really starting to figure this whole recruiting thing out, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit in this video. Now, this particular one, guys, this one is up for debate. Now, most of you all have probably figured out that I actually like Gus Malzahn. I have no ill will towards him. I think, giving all things, I look at, where he's come, how far he's come as a football coach and as a professional in the SEC. And I think about myself, in my own professional development. You know what I'm saying? To where Gus Malzahn was in 2013, the conversations that he was having, his demeanor, his approach to the game, I think he's light years ahead of where he was in 2013. Coming from Arkansas State to Auburn, having a pretty good season. You take away the miracles, though, you're not looking at a 2013 national championship. You take away the prayer of Jordan-Hare, you take away the kick six, that's a different season. And that's what I think a lot of people just discounted when really looking at the development of Gus Malzahn. Because to go to a national championship game in the manner that Auburn did in 2013, I could even argue at points in 2010, that's not a sustainable way to make it to a national championship. Now, I'll say this, Auburn mid-season in 2010 on to the national championship, to come back from behind win against Alabama was absolutely phenomenal. They played pretty solid football, from that point on. But the 2013 year, that prayer Jordan-Hare, that kick six, that's not a sustainable way to win or go to a national championship. And it doesn't create any type of solidarity moving forward. Because the players can see this, man, y'all won off of luck. I'm not saying I don't want to be a part of it, but can you do it year in and year out? Develop a program year in and year out. Okay? That's something that Alabama, LSU, Georgia has done. Maybe you could throw Ohio State's name in the hat. You could also throw in, maybe Oregon, for a little bit more. Clemson, definitely. These teams are winning off of sustainable activity. That's something that I want to see. More than a national champion. We're just talking right now, guys. This is just sitting on the couch, regular Auburn football talk. Just pretend like I'm sitting in your living room and we're debating back and forth. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I created this channel, because I knew what it was like to move from Alabama to another state and not be able to talk that War Eagle talk every day. It sucked. And then when I would see an Auburn fan, it was almost like I was like, hell yeah, man, War Eagle, And we start chopping it up about Auburn football. That's what this channel, in part, is about. And also to give real deal analysis about the teams. Now, let's go. Let's get back. Let's rewind this thing. Let's get back into it. Now, Auburn, we got to admit, although Auburn has been successful, has been, to a national championship in 2010, national championship in 2013, flirting with one in 2017, with making it to the SEC championship game. I mean, just literally another elite running back maybe away from beating Georgia. Now, looking even at that Georgia game, Auburn had some turnovers in the red zone early to where Auburn probably could have went on and cleaned Georgia up. But, I mean, turnovers in the red zone early, not taking advantage of opportunities. Still a pretty good ball game until midway in the third quarter, and then the rest is history. But either way, with the conversation as we talk about Gus Malzahn, I get it. A lot of Auburn fans don't like Gus Malzahn, and for good reason. Gus Malzahn historically gets you right there. Gets you right there to where you can get on Facebook and Twitter and you can talk trash about your favorite team. But what does Gus Malzahn do? He gets you there. He gets you to the point where you're feeling real good about things and things just fall apart. Dangles the carrot, and then takes it away. And that's gut-wrenching. The losses to Florida State in the national championship game, that is an absolutely gut-wrenching loss for the Auburn Tiger fan base. And it leads us to where we are now. Gus Malzahn and his staff. We're not just going to put all of this on Gus because he's paying some guys a lot of money as supporting cast of the program to put Auburn in a position to be successful. And based on what other teams are doing, especially on the recruiting efforts, Gus Malzahn has this, and his staff has Auburn in a very, very decent direction, going in a decent direction. You talk about a recruiting class. We've talked about this numerous times on the channel. Going from number 29 to number 13 in a 2-month swing. Where the hell do they do that at? Not at many schools. Not even ones that you all covet, like your Clemsons, your Alabamas. Well, mainly because they're already there. But at the same time, at a certain point, you can't predict wins or losses. You just can't. No more than a company can predict profits. But what you can do is control the things that you can control. You can control knowing that you're short offensive linemen, not only this year, but the next year and the year after that, and go ahead and take some action in recruiting some pretty decent offensive linemen with some developmental qualities. Speaking of which, Kamar Bell, out of the 2019 recruiting class, has enrolled. It was kind of questionable. And it even said that, hey, I had some academic stuff going on. I wanted to make sure everything was solid. Everything is solid. Kamar Bell is enrolled at Auburn. Now, same thing with your regular business. You can't predict you're going to be in a sales increase, so you can't predict that you're going to kill it profit-wise. But what you can do is you can make sure that you're running a business that is not only solid, but is predictable as far as the environment, the service and production piece, or whatever your business entails. You can provide a good environment for the people that report to you. Same way with Auburn. We haven't seen anything like this whole recruiting thing. Yeah, we want the 5-star recruits, but I want the guys in the middle. The 96 to 90 guys. That's the real roster bearers. It's cute to get you a 5-star recruit. I think they need to get him one. Matter of fact, Wesley Steiner and the other dude, they probably will upgrade to a 5-star. But what Auburn is looking at is more solidarity in the middle. That's where you start to build a depth chart, is in the middle of these recruiting classes. Okay? So, a lot of subcultures of the Auburn fan base see what could potentially happen. See that things are a lot more solid than they've been in years. But that 8-5 just keeps, that number just keeps popping up in their minds. And what does that cause the Auburn fan base to do? We don't believe. We absolutely do not believe. We don't want to get our hopes up, and we get into this season and we wind up tanking again, and we make a fool of ourselves. We holler War Eagle reluctantly, and we just want a coach that will give us some level of predictability. Kind of like Tommy Tuberville did. We knew year in and year out what we were going to get out of Tommy, right? And enjoyed it. I loved it. That was probably one of the most enjoyable portions of my Auburn fandom ever. I loved the 2005 season. Loved the 2003 season. Even though we couldn't move the ball the first couple of weeks. Absolutely loved the 2004 season. But at a certain point, that fizzled out, which is fine. I think it fizzled out a little prematurely. But hey, that's another debate. You can throw your apples and oranges and tomatoes another time. That's another debate. But either way, Gus Malzahn. I get it. There's a subculture of Auburn, the Auburn fan base, that kind of sort of hopes he fails. Now, I will tell you what the predicament will be for the Tigers. If Gus Malzahn fails, you're going to, I get the irritation, but you think you're irritated now. I don't care who you get in here as a coach. If Gus Malzahn doesn't make it, you're going to go through some growing pains. You're also going to go through a situation where you have a pretty, developing solid recruiting class. Hell, if you win some games, it can be even more solid. Then what? Not only do you have a $30+ million buyout, but you still gonna go 7-6 the next year. You might do a little bit better because, the schedule is not quite as tough. But at the same time, I mean, I'm with Gus. The dude has endured being, and this, a lot of it is self-inflicted, has endured being on and off the hot seat. Literally coaching for a fan base that I would say, I'll be lenient. I'll say 20% of the fan base absolutely hates him. That's probably a loaded prediction. It's probably more than that, but we just for public perception, we'll just say 20. We'll just say 20%. And moving forward, Gus Malzahn and his staff has done a great job with changing the recruiting trajectory. Has changed attempting to change the culture of the program. I think the Purdue game was a very good start because a lot of the Auburn fans, they didn't know what to expect. I did a video on, Auburn against Purdue. I knew Auburn would win the game, but I didn't think they would win it in the manner in which they did. So we're just talking a little bit today, guys. We're not, overthinking this thing today. We're just talking a little bit of Auburn football and thinking about the fan base. The fan base for the Auburn Tigers, I know, just like any other SEC team, especially a high-tier SEC team or a Power 5 team, you really want to talk a lot of trash about your team. But because of the history, you can't. Because you're scared to. You're reluctant. You don't want to say, man, we're going to go 10-2 or make the SEC championship game and wind up not doing it. Now, I know that's where you're at. That's why you respond to some of the stuff the way you do. You want to get on here and say, yes, we are too deep in every position possible. We got a dual threat quarterback. Gus Malzahn is calling plays again. We have the best defensive line, maybe, in the country. But you know what? Because Gus Malzahn is a coach and I know his history, we can't talk it. We gotta wait till it happens. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart, man. Y'all can talk that trash if you want to. Because social media is going to eat you up anyway. Go ahead and let it out. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger on this channel. War Eagle.